Hello friends, and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and several weeks ago, the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation premiered. It was called The Dauphin, and these are my honest opinions about it. I have a strange relationship to Wesley Crusher. There are episodes in which I love him, there are episodes in which I tolerate him, and there are episodes in which I absolutely hate him. It really depends on how he is written for that particular episode. I also don't like most of the love stories ever filmed. I don't have anything against love or anything like that. I just think that the vast majority of romantic movies and TV shows are insanely boring. Maybe it's because I'm a man? Or maybe I'm just an evil bastard who hates people in love, or something else, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that the fact that this is a story in which Wesley Crusher falls in love is not a story for me. So, as you can imagine, this video won't be very positive. The Enterprise is working again as a space taxi. This time they have to transport Celia, a young leader of Fellet 4, and her guardian Anya. And I, as usually, am sorry if I butcher the names. She is supposed to end somehow the civil war which takes place there for generations. So, why does the Enterprise have to transport them? They later claimed that they have far superior technology, so yeah, why the Enterprise? I was thinking about it, and the only reason I could come up with was that Celia needed to be on board of the Enterprise so that she could fall in love with Wesley. Anya first asks what life form are they before they beam up to the ship. The reason why she asks such a stupid question will be clear in a few moments, but still, what sense does it make in the story? Why would she ask something so dumb? She knows that somebody is going to bring them from planet A to planet B. So why does she only now ask what species they are? Wouldn't it be much more logical to prepare for this and to know something like this before the Enterprise arrived? But whatever, they beam on board and we see immediately some conflict. Celia, the young girl, is happy and cheerful and wants to have a tour of the ship, but Anya, the old hag, immediately kills her passion. There will be no fun here, young lady. Geordi has a problem with the engines and he and Wesley start to work on it. He needs some thingy from the storage, so he sends Wesley to get it. Of course, he bumps into the 16-year-old girl and is immediately attracted to her. And what a surprise, she's attracted to him too, for some reason. Am I the only one who finds this type of storytelling kind of insulting? You know what I'm talking about. If you see a white guy and a white woman, you know that they will become a couple. Or you see a black guy and a black woman, you know immediately that they will become a couple. Or you see two attractive teenagers, they will become immediately a couple. Or if you have, I don't know, let's say two gay characters, they will become a couple. These things belong to the reasons why I don't like most of the romantic movies, because the characters usually don't behave like normal humans. Well, thankfully for us, Riker tries to explain to us that that girl is out of his league, but that of course won't stop him, otherwise we wouldn't have a story. And that would be horrible, right? After the teaser, we get to see one very special feature of Anya. She can turn into Magican Amik and then into a demonic Ewok. Meanwhile, we see another embarrassing storyline. Wesley, fully in love, trying to talk with all of the adults about how to get girls. First he tries to get help from Geordi. The same Geordi who will be later famous for not knowing how to start a relationship with a woman. Then he tries to get tips from Worf. Because of course you want to get your tips from a Klingon. Why is Worf even a possibility? Well, finally he makes a choice which makes at least some sense. He tries to get some tips from Riker. Well, that does make sense. Riker was written as a ladies' man, but why the hell would anybody want love tips from his superior officer? Come on. Well, at least we get one good scene. A flirting scene between Riker and Guinan, and they actually have pretty good chemistry. Worf meanwhile gives Anya a tour of the ship. Why? I don't really get all of these tours we see on different iterations of Trek. What makes you think it's a good idea to bring unknown people to some places like the engineering? Shouldn't this be a room accessible only for very specific crew members? Anya is in engineering only unpleasant to Geordi and pretty rude, but the situation gets much worse in sickbay. When Anya found their mortally ill man, she started to demand that he will be killed to prevent any chance of him infecting Celia. When Dr. Pulaski refuses to do so, of course, she turns into a huge monster and starts fighting Worf. Picard steps in and stops the fight. Meanwhile, Celia and Wesley are having a date in the holodeck, which ends up in tears and with a potential conflict, which Picard has to again calm down. The captain tries to privately explain to Wesley that he has to keep it in his pants for the safety of the ship, and Anya has a similar talk with Celia, but they're young and attractive, of course they're in love, and no adults will talk any senses to them. As soon as Anya stops looking, Celia goes to Wesley, but Anya rushes in her space Bigfoot form and pretends that she wants to kill Wesley, but Celia turns into a brown-orange space Bigfoot and Wesley gives a wonderful "oh crap, I wanted to bang that thing" look. They turn back into humanoid forms, Anya is angry and Wesley is afraid in the corner. So, will this end with a massacre? I don't know. It looks like the following scene should be Dr. Pulaski doing Wesley's autopsy, but no, the episode simply cuts away to the Enterprise arriving to the target planet, and Worf getting to their quarters to go with them to the transporter room. Wait, didn't we skip a couple of scenes? Why do such a setup when there is no payoff? Celia visits Wesley again, but he doesn't want to talk to her. So, a guy doesn't want to have anything to do with a girl who he previously was in love with after he finds out that she is tall, has a wrong skin color and is furry? Can you imagine something like this being shot these days? People on Twitter would go insane. But Wes changes his mind and follows her to the transporter room. They manage to say goodbye and she changes into a strange 1980s optical effect. So we end with Wesley having a drink in 10 forward, but because he's a teenager, of course he doesn't have any alcoholic drink, Guinan has a surprisingly honest moment with him and the episode ends. I think I made my point already. I don't like this episode. The writers of this episode are Scott Rubinstein and Leonard Mlodinov. Both of them were experienced TV writers, but for both of them this is the only Star Trek credit they have. And I fully understand why. There are so many illogical things, so many story points which lead nowhere. But they were, according to IMDb, serving as story editors on TNG during Season 2, between the episodes The Outrageous Okona and Royale. And in my humble opinion, most of the stories suck. And there just isn't much to talk about most of the Season 2 stories, they're just bland. For example, if I wanted to say something nice about this specific episode, I thought that the scene between Guinan and Riker was pretty good, and the final scene between Guinan and Wesley was pretty good too. I mean, Whoopi used to be a really great actress, and when you give her small one-on-one scenes, like in this episode, or even in The Measure of a Man, she could really shine. The morphing effects, it's kind of, I guess, charming would be the correct word for it. I would definitely not call it good, but I enjoy watching it, especially when you realize that the morphing was a hand animation. These days it would be of course CG, even the creatures would be definitely CG. So to see something like this, yeah, I like it, but I can't take it seriously. Not for a single moment do I believe that these are two women who transform into monsters. I have no clue who the female lead is, I don't think I've seen the girl anywhere else, but she's doing a decent job. Decent but pretty bland. Will Wheaton can deliver a good performance, but he, just like her, does again a decent but pretty bland job. Not sure if that sentences make sense in English, I simply think that their performances are not horrible, but also not fantastic. They're okay, but highly forgettable. And I'm saying it as a person who used to be a fan of Will Wheaton until I've done a horrible mistake and started to read his Twitter rants a few years ago. That guy has some serious issues, but it makes sense if he really was bullied as a kid. Even when he was a Star Trek actor, as he suggested during most of the interviews he did. But back on topic, there was some guest star who later became famous. Mädchen Amik, I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly. It's a pity she appeared on screen just for one scene, and even in that one she turned into a demonic Ewok. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 2 out of 10. This is just bland. Well, at least it's not the Icarus factor or Shades of Grey. But as always, these were just my opinions. Please let me know what did you think about this episode. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Thank you very much for watching and see you in a few days with another video about the next episode of the classic Star Trek show called The Cloud Minders. And if I remember correctly, it was a very boring socialist propaganda piece, so I'm not really looking forward to it. Anyway, thanks a lot and see you soon. Bye.